Welcome to another Exciting Edge with the Cliff episode. Oh my. Nice to be able to just jump right in here whenever I feel like it, which is quite late on this now Sunday afternoon. I've been around since 5:30. Yeah, I woke up and get up out of bed about 5:30 and started doing some of my normal Sunday morning research. But today, I remembered that I did do a little teaser about this particular show a little earlier in the week on my Facebook, not my profile. What's that thing? Your story, your Facebook story. Yeah, I used that to let everybody know what I was going to talk a little bit about today. And I want you to know that you can also join in on the chat room because I can see anything that you type in there. So if you want to say hi or hello or let me know you're there, go ahead and do so. Because I'll type something in right now. I'm just going to type in one word. What would I say to you in one word? Hi. That's me. Yeah, okay. Oh, yeah. Pretty cool looking dude, too, huh? Welcome to the Edge with the Cliff. Seekers. Perhaps you're on the borderline of becoming unindoctrinated because well, you kind of know that everything around us is a big con. Everything, from our news media to our government to whatever political side we're on, it's all the same ball of wax. And it's all full of deception. And why is it not a surprise to me? Well, because I've been highly suspicious of not necessarily government type of things that could possibly be fraudulent or fixed to trick us all. If you were set up from the beginning, or at least from before you thought, well, since before your beginning, before generations of people who just grew up and learned all this stuff that we weren't taught, information that was imposed on us. In some ways it was pretty harsh, in some ways it was pretty easy. But what I wanted to talk to you today about briefly, and I'll make it briefly because a whole book could be written on what I'm about to disclose to you. Now, I'm not going to sit here with documentation and tell you dates and times and everything, but I want to tell you what and just about everything you need to know about perhaps the biggest failure in the history of Christianity. And it started out as a great big dream, a wonderful sounding dream. Of course, now, when I first got involved with this particular unnamed church at this point in the conversation, I'm not going to reveal the name yet. I will soon enough. And that will probably be enough that you'll want to hear out of me. But then again, some of you know that probably many books could be written about what happened at this church. I was 14 years old when I first stepped in, and I rode a bus. Yeah, I rode a bus. It was a Sunday school bus. They had a whole bunch of them. And they had this church. They were, building big congregation. And they were eventually talking about building a Christian school to go with their church. And they had these big dreams with this huge facility, with a huge auditorium, of course, but with classrooms and office areas and things that you would need for a Christian school, which I guess would include, yes, a basketball court, an indoor basketball court, and on the property, field goal and all football field, and pastoral headquarters, the place where the preacher gets to live, and they got really, 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 really big. And if a book could be written about this, that's how I'm going to reveal to you when I tell you what the name of that book would be in just a few minutes. Here on the Edge with the Cliff, welcome aboard. Remember, my background set is not fancy right now because of a number of reasons. My artistic endeavors are on hold because all my stuff's in storage that I'd be making sets out of. But on the other hand, a black background is a wonderful background, gives a nice atmosphere for the edge with the cliff. Because remember, if we're here on the edge, you're going to have an opportunity of maybe getting a glimpse of what might lie beyond the edge. I said a glimpse. You're not going to fall over the edge. Nobody's ever gone over the edge. It's impossible for you, sitting where you are, to go over this edge because you're looking at my face, correct? That's the edge back there. Okay. So if I go over the edge, you'll be the first to know, right? Right. Okay. And then you can rejoice in my demise. However, no way, Jose, not today, because this big church did build a very successful, big Christian school, of which many of the community leaders of today in that vicinity grew up in and around. But I was there when the dream was being shared, when they were creating this great, big, wonderful work. And today, if there were a book that could be written about it, it would have to be titled The Origin of Faith Baptist Mosque. Because all the work that was done, all those years, all that building to the great big wonderful structure and wonderful institution that it became, somehow slipped into bankruptcy and is now purchased by a Muslim group that had a mosque in the area that was vandalized. And they picked this property up for a song and a dance. Literally. Very inexpensive. And now gates are up, big steel gates, so that nobody's just going to come pulling in or pulling out without somebody opening those gates, or those gates being automatically opened or whatever. Very well protected. But, and when I do happen to go through that area and see it, I think to myself, wow, the origin of Faith Baptist Mosque. The reward for the work that was done for the Lord back in some early days ago. The hard work and the blood, sweat, and tears, and the lives that were involved, not only in the construction of, but a lot of kids grew up in that school. Many went to that school. Some of you went to that school. Some of you know what I'm talking about. And all of you remember, if you ever had any questions about anything that ever perplexed you about spirituality or anything like that, it was instantly shunned because they don't talk about things like that in church. Just wanted you to know what I'm thinking about. Because I could probably write a book on what I've experienced with that institution, and I'm sure there's plenty of documentation out there, but I could probably write a whole book on just what I experienced with that. However, there is documentation to every bit of that story, and we don't forensically look at anything like that if we think that it's that's a work of God. How could you come against something like that? I didn't come against it. It kind of popped its own cork and blew its own fuse and did its own spits and spark and blowing fuse and popping cork. And I know I'm speaking in tongues now. That's Pentecostal. Don't worry about that. But the origin of Faith Baptist Mosque, it kind of has a ring to it, doesn't it? So think about it. This is the edge with the cliff, where we boldly go, where where no pew warmer dares to venture. We boldly walk in where angels fear to tread on the edge of the cliff. You've noticed that, haven't you? Well, I love making fun of the fear that's out there. The horrifying fear that compels you and keeps you attached to the fear, guilt, and control matrix, which owns you and your soul. And we can help you break away from that. It's not hard to do at all. I know what you're up against, though. You're up against like a screaming voice inside your head that tells you that that's wrong. No, 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 it can't possibly be right. Wait a minute. Doesn't that sound like a nice still small voice inside that calms you, gives you peace? No. What's that? That's an accuser? An adversarial accuser. An adversary accuser screaming at you from inside of your head? No, that's mental illness if you can physically hear something. But what academic brainwashing does to you is you learn it all. And I know you learn it all. You learn, you memorize, and you say your memory verses, and you know they come to you just like that out of nowhere, just when you need them, right? Well, I don't really believe that, because what I've discovered, and what you can discover too, is that your Bible is full of little problems. It kind of points to who people really are when word for word is properly translated. And how do you do that? You're not a Greek scholar. You're not a Hebrew scholar. Oh yeah, I know how those sneers go. You know those academic sneers from the monkey mucks. Monkey mucks have monkey muck written all over a piece of pig skin or sheepskin or something. They just print it on bacon and hang it on a wall. And they are an academic genius and an academic scholar. And we don't even worry about them because they don't even listen to us. So we don't worry about them. They're a non-issue. And I'm not talking about the apologists. I mean, you can't blame the apologists for being sorry and having to apologize and always defending and always defending and always defending because they feel they are the guardians of the word. So at least they've got some kind of a sense of being, or a sense of purpose beyond just going on like all the rest of the sheeple. You're on the edge of the cliff. Whether you happen to join us live on YouTube, or if you happen to come across this at some point after it's been recorded already, that's okay too, because I want it to sink into your mind about the potential of a book that I'm thinking about that should be titled "The Origin of Faith Baptist Mosque." And you know what? I'm sure I can find a lot of pictures of the school, but I don't want to interfere with the privacy of some of the students who are all grown up now, all moved way on now, who have some horrific stories to tell about some of the teachers over the years. But that goes with everywhere, not just. No, I'm not being biased against this institution, and I think it's quite ironic that the reward of their work became a reward for our Muslim brothers and sisters here on the planet, which wonderful opportunity. Imagine if it was your opportunity for that piece of property. That's a big piece of property out there, and well, congratulations to them and salutations to them, because they are those who get to keep the rewards of those who were thinking that they were building up their own rewards somewhere else. And one of the issues of the whole story was back in the day when they were deciding to go ahead and start building this facility, they were selling bonds. They were selling bonds. At which time, at a later time, much later in time, all became mature at some point. And everybody who was in on it, they all got their just rewards. And some of them have probably had their feet up ever since. But then the pastor died of a terrible cancer disease. Where was his mercy? This guy built it all. It was all on his shoulders for quite some time. But he kept it up on his shoulders the whole time. And the poor guy didn't get a break when it came to kicking the bucket, did he? I remember conversations that people were having with him when they were doing the construction. They were saying, "I bet you're going to have a great reward in heaven for building this facility." And he was a meek guy, and he didn't take that. He was just doing what he felt he had to do. He was compelled to do, and he did it. It was his thing. It was his endeavor that he built. It was his dream, and he worked it for many years and enjoyed it for many years, and many enjoyed for many years. But then, tragically, at the end, of course, like cancer seems to do, it finally comes swooping in and takes him off. Of course, he did what every good father would do in a church situation like that, is raise up his kids to be able to run church. And it would be assumed that maybe one of his children would try to carry on the church. Now, I don't know. I was long gone from this institution by then, but I've always kept my ear to the ground, listen to that rumbling train out there, because it's a long train. The origin of Faith Baptist Mosque. Coming to a theater near you. But I gotta write the book first. Could I sell a book like that? Do you think I could sell a book like that? I learned a new word yesterday. I've been listening to a lot of amazing people on YouTube lately. I don't leave Jeffrey Daugherty out of any of it. I happen upon his stuff all the time, and he said something so profound that he didn't even notice it until somebody pointed it out to him today. But he said a word yesterday that just blew me away. Right then and there, I knew what it was. Everybody's saying, "Well, what do you call yourself? If you're not a Christian, what do you call yourself?" Well, I've been saying, hey, we're unindoctrinated. We are unindoctrinated. That's a big, bad word that we love, unindoctrinated. I'm unindoctrinated. But what's this word? This new word? Oh, you're going to love this. Are you ready for it? Are you a contrarian? Has a ring to it, doesn't it? Mary, very hairy, quite scary, and quite contrary. How does your garden grow? Wow, what are we planting in our garden today? Unindoctrinated contrarians. And then earlier today, this morning, while I was doing my other research, I happened across Jeffrey Daugherty, and he said something like the first church of the unindoctrinated contrarians. I don't think that's a good idea, Jeffrey. Don't go making a church out of this thing. You know why? You'll need rules, because all churches have to have rules, And you got to follow the rules. And we do away with the fear, guilt, and control matrix. We make fun of it. We trash it and its creators and its co-conspirators. You know who they are if you just stop shivering and shaking in fear and just listen. Don't be afraid to just ask a question. You can ask a question on in the comments on this YouTube, and I'll respond to it. I'll check out what you're saying in there. And if you don't like what I'm doing in here, tell me. I don't care. That's all right. I still love the attention. Trust me. You can't say anything too good or too bad about me that won't make me absolutely delighted that you're talking about me. That's why I'm not a violent person when it comes to people who gossip. I'm not a violent person at all. But some of the ways that I think about the people who are out there antagonizing everybody, kind of peacefully figured out certain ways that you can deal with them. Because if somebody wants to quote a scripture and say, the battle is mine, saith who? Well, that would be in the first person. That would be if I'm talking about that individual. To me, who is that individual? It's me. So be careful how you set your intentions, because they are powerful. Be careful that you make sure to only forgive your worst enemies. Don't just forgive everybody. You have to go ahead and let it be sometimes. But if you forgive your enemies, it can be just as deadly as plotting something awful against them. But you got to leave it alone. You don't just forgive your enemies. Oh, I forgave my enemies. No, it doesn't work like that. Doesn't work like that. As you get older in life, how old are you now? Don't say it out loud. I don't want to hear numbers. I don't want to see hands. And I couldn't see your hands anyway. But how many of you have an enemy that would do anything they could to see to your demise or your failure, and they'd worked against you hard over many years of time? I noticed the older that I got, I noticed there were just fewer and fewer of them. And one day I noticed that all the people that I was worried about continuing to be my enemy, that I perhaps thought maybe they might come looking for me someday or something like that, I noticed that they were all gone. And I don't mean missing, but their lives had expired at some point since my relationship with them. And one day I woke up and realized they were all gone. So why not forgive your enemies? Well, only forgive your worst enemies and leave it alone. See, that's the key to forgiveness. Because if you forgive somebody and leave it alone, that means you don't have to come back and help the forgiveness kick in a little later. Yeah, that sounds like it. It should come with a money-back guarantee. Some of the fantastic folks that are out there on YouTube right now that do little shows and get together. Rocky Stucci. Oh, my. I was watching the chat room that he was in, and people are saying, shut up. Rocky Stucci, shut up. Hey, Rocky Stucci, to say shut up to Rocky Stucci is like going to a Larry the Cable Guy concert and yelling, get her done! It's sort of like a tagline that he's picked up, but he's one of those guys that tells it like it is, whether you like it or not. You don't have to like everything you hear. That's why you have two ears, one for the good stuff to go in and one for the bad stuff to come out. Let it go in one ear and out the other, and it filters in the middle. Study all things, look at all things, observe all things, and decide for yourself. What do you think of today's news coverage of everything? Scotty Roberts. That's another one of those guys you see out there on YouTube all the time. He's in a suit with swords on the wall in the background and everything. Beautiful dark blue suit. And I was thinking of the days of today we have green screen technology for video. But back in old school days where I come from, it was a blue screen. It was a dark blue screen. And that's how the sports guy could be sitting at his microphone telling you what happened in the game and showing you the play that was on the screen behind him. We thought we would think it was a movie projector or something, but they keyed out the blue, and everything that was blue would just blend into whatever picture they would put as a background. Same way they do the green screen now. Same type of technology. They might even still call it chroma key. I'm not sure, but I'm looking forward to getting to that point to where I'll be able to do some green screen stuff for you, and we're doing it in many ways too. We do I do this kind of stuff at work too. Only we do radio shows, put them on YouTube. But that's neither here nor there when you're on the edge with the Clif. We're glad to have you with us, whether you got here during the live webcast or if you're watching it as a rerun on YouTube. We will archive all of these. Just remember the date on this one. Today is what, the Cinco de Mayo. Oh, yes. Cinco de Mayo, May the 5th, was the day that I told you that I'm thinking about writing a book entitled The Origin of Faith Baptist Mosque. There. The bright lights of the studio, yeah, I know. But there's another reason for the black background, because in one of these future shows, I'm going to implement an old-fashioned, ancient special effect that will work really good with the lights and the black background. Because some of you know one of my deep, dark secrets is I'm a master of invisibility. You say, how can you say that? Oh, a real sicko if he thinks he can get invisible. No, that's not what I said. I said I'm a master of invisibility. And what do I mean by that? Well, there's two things that have been dominant factors in my life, my whole life. Radio broadcasting and puppetry. Yes, puppetry. Sort of an illusion, yes, but yet being the puppeteer and the radio guy on the microphone, I am the invisible one. I'm a voice on the radio, or a voice in a puppet on a stage that you'll see somewhere, and I won't have anything to do with it because you won't see me up there in that character. You'll see that character. That's the art of puppetry. But the master of invisibility is kind of cool because hindsight's 20/20, and as I look back, I've been doing it all for a long time. The puppetry since age 8, which, let's see. Wow. I have been doing puppets for over 50 years. Over 50 years. And wow. Just a few years later on, I got into radio, and I've been doing that ever since. Don't start doing what you like doing for a living, because you'll never work again. You'll love your work your whole life if you can manage to keep your job this day and age. I only use the sunglasses just to break up the monotony of the bifocals, so I use them to read. I'll get some new glasses pretty soon, but I'm going to completely pull a shapeshifter on everybody. So you got to start watching now, because it's going to change. It's not going to change quickly, but it's going to slowly morph into a whole new look, and a whole new style, and a whole new presence. Because I could show you some pictures where I've been doing it a lot my whole life, where most guys don't do this because women change their hairstyles and stuff, and guys don't do that because they think that's for women to do. I say, what the heck? If you can grow a beard, guys, if you can grow beards and if you can grow hair, you can get fancy with your mustaches and do a sideburns thing, do Elvis, and do all these different things. And yeah, it's kind of fun. But don't forget, I'm the guy that spent a lot of time, many years. I would do a fundraiser and cut off all my hair and shave my head bald. That would be a fundraiser. From bald to growing hair back, it only takes a year till I need a ponytail. So after 2 years, pretty shaggy looking. By 3 years, about a 3 foot ponytail by then, because it seems to grow longer and faster once you start putting the ponytail elastic hair ties in. When you start doing that, it pulls and causes it to grow a little faster, sometimes surprisingly faster. But we're going to have some fun because I'm always, every once in a while, I'll be the type of guy that might put on a big red nose. Although clowns are outlawed now. We can't do that anymore. You can't do the clown thing because the clown thing is, there's too many. Well, Stephen King, Tim Curry, they've ruined it. I mean, they ruined it worse for the clowns than the PETA folks did for the poor elephants in the circus and the killer whales at SeaWorld. And next, I think they're coming for your little brown dog. I think they're going to try to come take your doggy away from you. And everything else that you love, they want to take. They're takers. There's a lot of takers. Can we create a new world without all the takers and the haters and the bad people? What do we do with the bad people? Oh. Well, we're not here to promote genocide or anything like that. It does come up as a topic once in a while. I'm not your average, everyday, run-of-the-mill conspiracy theorist because, I like looking into stuff. Like right now, I'm looking into the deep state, what's being described as the deep state. And there's another show on YouTube about, there's many of them that talk about the deep state, but some are right out there investigating it. So I kind of look at what they're doing and saying, and I compare it to everything else that's being done and being said everywhere else. And I see all the connections. I can see a deep state that is controlled by actually religion. But separation of church and state, no such thing. Ding, ding, ding. No such thing. Absolutely. Separation of church and state cannot be done. It's before technology came along. If you had twins that were Siamese twins, they could not be separated. It was the life sentence of the twins. But now, thanks to the technology of today, we can separate those twins and make individuals out of both of them, where they can both live normal lives, growing up as individuals, free of the attachment of their sibling. Ooh, that would have to. Ooh, could you imagine being stuck to your brother or your sister all your whole life because you were joined together as twins? And the operations that they do these days to separate are amazing. The doctors are doing amazing things these days. There's new technology every day being born. They can barely keep up with it. It's coming through so fast. But here on the edge with the cliff, we see all this. We've watched it all. We've been here a long time. And some of the folks that do all the complaining about everything are too young to really know what's going on. Because they're responding to what they're hearing, and they're scared of what they're hearing. They're told things that make them make decisions that affect them the entire rest of their lives. When you tell a young person, you'll never amount to anything, sometimes that'll stick with them for too long. How long is too long? Would you let that stick with you? You'll never amount to anything. Compared to what? You? You mean I'll never amount to you? And in between those sessions where my hair would grow real long and then I'd cut it all off, people would say, why don't you cut your hair? And I'd have to say, because you'd still be stuck with me. It wouldn't change who I am. You think cutting my hair and making my appearance look more up to your standards by doing so would instantly make me acceptable to who? You? Since when do I need to be acceptable to you? I don't care what you think. Ask me if I care. I don't care. I don't talk much about what I do for a living, but it's a radio show that I'm going to disclose to you just to tell you this. It's a show called Swamp Shop. People call in and buy and sell stuff. I got this box called Give a Shit. And one day I decided, you know what? I'm going to get rid of this box of Give a Shit. I'm going to sell it on Swap Shop. I've got a box of Give a Shit. This is my box of Give a Shit. I don't want it anymore. I do not give a shit anymore. Here, it's for sale for the best offer. Nobody bought it. Don't worry. It's all right. I know somebody's freaking out about a speaker I might have sold. No, it's not like that. Not at all. It went to the landfill, okay? But I did away with my Give a Shit. In fact, I give it proper burial. And you see, you have to do that. If you don't do that, all you're going to do is worry about what everybody thinks about you, and all it's going to be, poor little me, everybody thinks so bad about me, and everybody thinks this and that, and the other, and you'll be just another big crybaby out there blubbering. I say smile. Smile and dare them to say something about you, because if they don't know the truth, they'll have to make something up. They're not going to not be without info to their gossiping peers who just love to hear it. You don't have to forgive those. They don't really mean it. They love you and want to manipulate you like their peers do them. So you can understand that. Don't totally forgive them, though, because terrible things can happen. Terrible things. Unfortunate things. When you forgive a true enemy. You don't have to forgive everybody, only your true enemies. You'll see why once you see why. Because I'm not just telling you just to tell you something. I'm telling you this because you're trying to figure it all out too. And as you've seen over the years, things change and how they turn out. You'll see. Some call it karma. What about that little fat girl in the elementary school that all the other kids made fun of? Well, they made fun of her through grade school. And then she got a little bit bigger when she got into middle school and then high school. Oh my gosh. And all the teeny weeny pretty little cute girls would intimidate her by keeping the attention of all the guys. And that little girl grows up with this terrible, terrible self-esteem problem. But later in life realizes that, hey, wait a minute, something has changed. We're all together again somewhere later on in life, and here's all them skinny little pretty girls that got old and fat. While that plump little girl in high school slimmed down some and had the most beautiful eyes you ever seen. And looked young, while the rest looked old and drained of their vitality, of everything. It's just something that happens. I don't know if it's totally medical, things like osteoporosis and such, and the weight problems that older women often have. But that's where they get depressed too, because see, they were once the lovely ones, the ones all the guys wanted, the ones that got all the attention from all the guys. The ones who would take the guys away from the chubby girls. Karma. I guess that's a good description of what karma is. But isn't that the same thing as doing unto others as you would have them do unto you? Could you really handle that? If you imagine everybody you ever done anything to has done it back to you. Oh, they have. Oh, okay, I see. Well, this has been another exciting edition of The Edge with the Cliff. It's good to have you with us, whether you're live with us or sharing this with us at a later time, because I wouldn't want you to miss it. Right now, so far, Sundays at 1 p.m. U.S. Eastern Time. 1 o'clock p.m. Sundays, U.S. Eastern Time. Later on, there'll be more at different times. Or if there's a time that you think that I should be doing this. Now, originally, I did a show like this at 6 p.m. on Sundays for 2 hours. I do these 2-hour shows years ago on that other network that preceded the YouTube weather. It's so fantastic and amazing that we can do this with a chat room and all. So I'm looking forward to you being in the chat room in the future shows. We'll have some future shows. Plus, we'll have some guests on some of these shows. I know some amazing people on YouTube, and these are people that a lot of the ordinary folks would say, I don't know if you want to mess around with them. You know what they do? No, I don't know what they do. Do you know what they do? Well, don't tell me what they do if you don't know what they do, because that's gossip. And did you know that the person who you gossip about owns your soul? I'm just kidding. Scared you, didn't I? Boy, wouldn't that be something? Wouldn't that be something? Could you imagine what it would be like if everyone who gossiped against you, if you automatically own their soul? I don't think I'd be making some deals with some folks to get their souls back. Don't you think it'd be worth something to them? No, that's extortion. That's right. That's right. Don't do that. That's not a good idea. But you know what? You're free to speculate. You're free to agree. You're free to disagree, because you're free to give a shit. You're free to not give a shit. Like I took my box and sold it. You know, there's different names for that box too. Some people call it their give a damn. Imagine going into a thrift store and finding a give a damn box. It was once somebody's beloved give a damn, which they decided to part with and donate to a ministry that owned a thrift store to fundraise with. And as a fundraiser, this box called Give a Damn was simply donated. So any reasonable offer for this box of somebody's Give a Damn might be appropriate. And who knows, one person's box of Give a Damn might be somebody else's treasure chest. I know it gets profoundly deep sometimes, doesn't it? But that's why there is an edge with the Cliff. There's no other place like it. And remember that new word that I learned yesterday and started using today. It's going to take you a while to get the hang of it, but thank you, Jeffrey Daugherty. What a brain. The guy is he's out there talking his stuff on YouTube, and the word come right out of his mouth. I don't think he even noticed it. But contrarian. Yeah, I'm a contrarian. I'm contrary to what everybody else, what the world believes. The whole world was deceived by the beast. What's the beast? What was highly revered as the Word of God. I wrote a poem about it. The Word is out. The world was flawed. The Word was not the Word of God. Unindoctrinated contrarianists unite. Unindoctrinated contrarians, good night. Although it's mid-afternoon here on the East Coast, and I've got the rest of a Sunday to go enjoy the sun. Should I choose to delightfully do so. So have yourselves a great one. Remember, 1 o'clock on Sundays for now, until we figure out something else and more. When we figure out more, I'll be on here and there almost all the time at some date in the future. But remember, one other thing, for the next couple of weeks, I might become scarce a time or two. I'm going to always try to jump in here and let you know something, but I'm scheduled for some medical procedures, and we'll get all that lined up and in and out of here, and then the shape-shifting will begin. So this is The Edge with the Clif. Check us out on Facebook, Edge with the Clif. Go to Facebook, and under Facebook search, put in Edge with, not The Edge, Edge with the Clif. And Clif is spelled with only one F. One F in Clif. There's only one F in Clif. Say it 3 times fast. There's only one F in Clif. There's only one F in Clif. There's only one F in Clif. The Edge with the Clif is on YouTube. Okay, right here on this channel, the Clif Desmond channel. That's Clif with what? One F. Okay? And until next time, may you find peace within. Because remember, it's not about me. It's about you. It's really about you. And your stealth light within. Here on The Edge with the Clif. Thanks for joining us.